Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome back to crash course for competitive exams held by VIRAT Hindustan SANGHAM in association with Manifest IAS Bengaluru. So this program is inspired by Dr. SWAMY and it was inaugurated on 28th of January. So this program is convened by Dr. Ravishankar sir, State Education Convener, VHS Karnataka and President of Good Neighbors NGO. So I am the chief mentor of your program. Here is my name, DHANUSH Kumar. So I have been training civil service aspirants for past 5 years. Okay, this program is completely held online and you can watch this program on YouTube channel of VIRAT Hindustan SANGHAM. Here is the link, and also YouTube channel of UDAYA News Karnataka. Here is the link. Okay, so here is a timetable of your program along with syllabus. So we have started with Polity. It's going to run for another 4 to 5 days, and then we are going to progress to history. So you, for free mentoring, you have to join our Telegram channel. Here is a link for our channel, and you can also join by scanning the QR code. So you can also by typing this link. So you can also search for VHS Education Forum on Telegram. Okay, so what to expect out of these classes? I have been telling it can be used as a revision course as well as to get a gist and hold of the concepts of various topics which you are going to study for various competitive exams. Right. So today I am going to start with, today we are going to start with the state government. State government comes under which part? Comes under Part 4 of the Constitution. So, state government comes under Part 4. Sorry, Part 6. Part 4 is which? Part 4 is what? Part 4 is your directive principles of state policy. What is Part 4A? Part 4A is your fundamental duties. Part 6 is your state government. Okay, what are the constitutional provisions? Constitutional provisions. Okay, so the entire state government comes under the Part 6 of the Constitution. So first we are going to start with the concept of or the office of governor. So it is the most important office when it comes to the state government. Okay, what are the articles which are going to deal with governor? It is starting from Article 153 goes up to Article 167 under Part 6 of the Constitution. Okay, so there is no office of vice governor. So governor is similar to what? Governor is similar to the office of president at the center. However, like vice president, there is no office of vice governor. Okay, so the first concept is appointment of governor. So how the governor is appointed? Governor is not elected, rather governor is appointed. Who appoints the governor? It is the President of India who appoints the governor. He is a nominee of the central government. He is an agent of the central government. That is why whenever Prime Minister comes to any state, governor goes to receive him. So it is a protocol to receive the Prime Minister because he is the agent or nominee of the central government. Okay. So draft constitution. So the draft constitution, who drafted? By Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It provided for direct election of the office of governor. However, later on it was removed. Direct. So there are various disadvantages of having a office of having the direct election of office of governor. What are the disadvantages? So it is incompatible with parliamentary system of democracy because you elect a governor, you also elect a chief minister. So there will be a tussle between whom? Tussle between CM and governor because both are elected. So what they did, what the Constitutional Assembly did, they made the office of governor a appointed office. However, chief minister is elected. Okay. Next. So, having an elected governor is also against having this kind of system. That is, the appointment system enables the center to have a control over the state affairs. So, that is, having the central control of center over the state affairs can be enabled by office of governor. That is why you see many bills and many acts would be reserved by the governor for the consent of the president. Okay. So, these are the disadvantages of having a direct office of governor, that is elected office of governor. So, what are the conditions for having a governor's office? So, the first condition is he should be a citizen of India. So, he should be a citizen of India. Second condition is he should be he should have completed 35 years of age. Just like the office of president, the office of governor, the person should have completed 35 years of age. So, there are other conditions also. So, he should not be a member of House of Parliament or state legislature. He should not be a member of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha or state legislature. And he should not hold office of profit. You already know what is office of profit. So, he can use the Raj Bhavan. Raj Bhavan is similar to your Rashtrapati Bhavan at the center. He can use it without paying any rent. So, there are various instances where the same person is appointed a governor of 2 or more states or a state and a union territory. Okay. So, what is the oath which the governor takes before assuming the office? What is the oath? So, the oath is to faithfully execute the office. That is the first oath. So, next oath is to preserve, protect and defend the constitution and law. To defend the constitution is the second oath. And the third oath is to devote himself to the service and well-being of the people of India. Like the president, he should also devote himself to the service of the people of India. So, next comes the concept of term of governor's office. So, general term is 5 years. So, the office of governor has a term of 5 years upon entering his office. If he or she enters an office, that is the office of governor, he can hold it for 5 years. Okay, next is powers and functions. What are the powers and functions of the office of governor? So, before that, there is so we have seen how the vice president is removed, how the president is impeached. However, how does the governor is removed? How does the governor removed from the office? So, the constitution does not specify any specific condition for removal of office of governor. For the office of governor, there is no specific condition for removal. So, how he is removed? So, he is removed at the will of the central government. You see, whenever a government changes, there is either a transfer of the governors or removal of governors. So, whenever central government changes, this is happening. That is why the Sarkaria Commission and Panchi Commission has given various recommendations to make the office of governor a non-political body. Okay. Next comes the concept of powers and functions. What are the powers and functions of the office of governor? So, the first power is executive powers. What are the executive powers? All the executive actions of the state government is taken under his name. He is the nominal authority, whereas the real authority is the chief minister. So, that is the first executive power. Next executive power is he can make rules. He can make rules about the how the specifying the manner in which the orders and other instruments are executed. Various orders are given by the government, by the state government. He can make rules about how those orders are executed. Next is He appoints the chief minister and other ministers. They hold office during his pleasure. So this is similar to the office of president. Next is he appoints the advocate general upon the advice of the chief minister and council of ministers. Okay. Next is state election commissioner. So state election commissioner is appointed by the office of governor. So he appoints the members of State Public Service Commission. So State Public Service Commission members are appointed by governor. Who removes them? Who has the power to remove them? It is the president. Okay, these are certain executive functions of the executive powers of the governor. What are the legislative powers? Whatever act passed by the state legislative assembly and council, it is signed by, it gets enforced only after the governor signs it. So he can summon and prorogue the state legislative assembly. You know already what is summoning and proroguing. I have discussed it in the chapter of parliament. Next is, so he addresses the state legislative assembly at the beginning of the first session and also every year, first session of the year. So now budget session is going to happen. So the governor is going to address the sessions. So he can send the messages. He can send messages to the houses of the state legislature. He can appoint any minister of the state legislative assembly. Sorry, he can appoint any member of the state legislative assembly as a speaker when both the speaker and deputy speaker offices lie vacant. Next is he nominates one sixth of the members of state legislative council. So state legislative council is similar to Rajya Sabha. Only 6 states have it today. Okay. So in the state legislative council, 1/6 of the members are nominated by whom? Nominated by the governor. So those are the persons who have expertise in literature, science, art and cooperative movement. So in the Rajya Sabha, it is 12 members who are nominated by whom? President. Here 1/6 of the members. So he decides on the disqualification of the members of the state legislative assembly. So on whose advice? On the advice of election commission. So when a bill is presented to him, he can give his assent, he can withhold, give his assent means sign the bill, withhold the assent, does not sign the bill, or return the bill to the assembly. Or one more provision is there, he can reserve the bill for the consent of the president. This provision is not similar to the office of president. So a president cannot reserve the bill for some other's consent. He has to sign it or send it back or withhold it. Whereas governor has the option of sending the bill back to the sending the bill to the consent of the president. That is one special provision with respect to office of governor. So when does he reserve the bill for the president's consent? When the provisions or a law, where a law is against the constitution, when the law is ultra vires, when it is against the constitution, when the law is against directive principles of state policy, so when the law is against the larger interest of country, so in those conditions he can reserve the bill for presidential consent. Next comes the financial powers. So financial powers, majorly it is with respect to budget and money bill. So he sees the annual financial statement is laid before the state legislature. That is, the budget gets laid before the state legislature with the consent of the governor. Next is money bill. Money bill, even it is same with respect to the state legislature compared to the parliament. Money bill gets laid before the state legislature only upon his prior recommendation. So no demand for grant. You know what is demand for grant? No demand for grant can be made without his recommendation. Next is he can make advances out of the consolidated fund of India. You know what is consolidated fund? Sorry, he can make advances out of consolidated fund of state. There is similar to Consolidated Fund of India, we have Consolidated Fund of State. He can make advances. Make advances means take money out of the Consolidated Fund of the State. So he constitutes Finance Commission. So just like the Central Finance Commission, we have State Finance Commission. He constitutes the Finance Commission. So what are the judicial powers? Judicial powers. So just like the President, even the Governor has judicial powers. He can grant pardons, reprieves, respites, remission. You already know what is pardon, respite, remission, and also reprieve. In all the cases where the executive power of the state extends to, if the offence is against the state bill, state list provisions, then he can grant pardon, reprieve, respite, and commutation, and also remission. So he is consulted by the President while appointing judges of the concerned High Court. Suppose Karnataka High Court judges are being appointed, the President consults whom? The Governor. Next is, he makes appointments to the district judges. So you have every district one district judge. District judge is there, similar to sessions judge at the similar to civil court or sessions judge at the where? At the city level. So district judge is appointed by him in consultation with whom? State High Court. So judicial service of the state. So there is a judicial service, just like state public service, there is state judicial service. So the appointment to that service is made by the Governor in consultation with whom? High Court and State Public Service Commission, both. So next comes the concept of comparing the veto, ordinance, and pardoning powers of the Governor with the President. So what is the comparison? With regard to ordinary bills. So President, what can he do? He may assent, he may send the bill back, or he may withhold the consent. Whereas here he can do the same things, Governor can do the same things, plus reserve the bill for presidential assent. That is the first difference. So when the state bill is reserved by the Governor, so President, when the state bill is comes to the President, what he can do? He can assent, withhold, or return. Whereas Governor doesn't have any such provision. When in regard to money bills, the President, what can he do? He can give his assent or withhold his assent. So here, even money bill, what the Governor can do? Give the assent, withhold the assent, reserve the bill for President, but not return. Even both of them cannot return. Okay. So money bill, when it comes to President, what he can do? He can give his assent or withhold his assent. Even the President cannot return the money bill of the state. So these are the differences between ordinary bill and money bill. So next we will compare the ordinance making power. So now we spoke about the veto power. Veto power, we will now speak about the ordinance power. What are the ordinance power? So President can promulgate an ordinance when both the houses of the Parliament are not in session. Even if one house in session, if the President promulgates an ordinance, it is promulgating an ordinance. What does it mean? I have explained. So even if one house is in session, if the President promulgates an ordinance, it is ultra vires. It is against the Constitution. However, Governor can promulgate an ordinance only when the state legislative assembly is not in session. Wherever the state, see, there are two kinds. So when it comes to state legislature, there are two types of constitutional setup. In one type of constitutional setup, there are only legislative assemblies. For example, the state of Tamil Nadu, the state of Odisha, the state of Rajasthan, they just have, likewise, they just have what? Just the legislative assembly. Whereas there are certain states where they have legislative assembly plus legislative council. So it acts as the upper house at the state level. Only few states have. Why only few states? It is British legacy. British during their times introduced at the provincial level. Provinces means similar to states today. At the provincial level, bicameral legislature. Bicameral means what? Upper house and lower house. So British introduced only in few provinces. So we have in the states of Karnataka, we have in the states of Maharashtra, we have in the states of UP, what? We have bicameral legislature, that is legislative assembly and legislative council. Hope the concept is clear. So in the case, in the first case, he can promulgate an ordinance when legislative assembly is not in session. In the second case, he can promulgate an ordinance when both of them are not in session. Okay. So next is his ordinance making power, president's ordinance making power extends only to state union list, governors only to state list. So it has president, it has the same presidential ordinance, same effect as an act of our parliament. Governor's ordinance, same effect as a as the state government act. So next is both of them can withdraw the ordinance at any time. Likewise, there are many differences with respect to ordinance making power. You can go look into the book. It is very easy. Next is pardoning power comparison. Pardoning power. So president can give pardon, pardon, reprieve, respite, all those things with respect to central law. Governor, state law. So with respect to death sentence, only the president can pardon. Even if the state law prescribes death sentence, who can pardon? Only the president. Governor cannot pardon a death sentence at all. However, death sentence he can commute, reprieve, respite, everything he can do with respect to death sentence, but he cannot pardon the death sentence. So that is why the issue of Rajiv Gandhi killers, Nalini and co. So Nalini and co, the issue has come up again and again because they are saying the state governor can grant pardon. However, the central government has said no, nothing doing. State governor cannot do. It is only the prerogative of the president. That is why they are still in jail. Okay. So military court, military trial. I already told martial law, military courts. So military personnel, they are court-martialed. That is, they are not subject to normal ordinary courts. So those personnel, they are tried by the court-martialing and they can be granted pardon, reprieve, respite only by the president. However, governor cannot get into the field of court-martialing. So constitutional position of governor. What is the constitutional position? So since the Parliament of India provides a what form of government? They provide a parliamentary, since the Constitution of India provides a parliamentary form of government, right? In the parliamentary form of government, there are two authorities. One is de facto authority, another is de jure authority. So de facto, who? Chief Minister, Prime Minister. De jure, President, Governor. Okay. So what is the constitutional provision? So Article 154. So Article 154 speaks about the office of governor. Which article speaks about the office of president? It is Article 53. So 154 article speaks about the office of governor. So similar to Article 74, Article 163 is there. Article 163, what does it say? It says aid and advise. So there shall be a council of ministers who are there to aid and advise the governor. Okay. Article 164. What does 164 say? Article 164. So it says with respect to council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to state legislative assembly. That is similar to central government being responsible to Lok Sabha, state government being responsible to legislative assembly. That is said by whom? It is said by Article 164. Okay. So there is one special power of the governor compared to the president. See, when it comes to president, whatever the president has to do, he has to do with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, Central Council of Ministers, right? But in certain cases, that is returning the bill, withholding the consult, there he can exercise his discretion, right? Only limited discretion. However, the discretionary power of office of governor is higher compared to office of president. So the discretionary power is larger, vast compared to office of president. So what is the discretionary power of governor? So reservation of a bill for consideration of, suppose a bill comes to the governor, he can reserve the bill for president. No, he need not ask anybody. Okay, that is his first discretionary power. With respect to imposition of president rule, which article? Article 356. He can act out of discretion. He need not ask anybody. Okay, so and also with respect to special states, that is the state of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram, their payments are made to this government, that is tribal district council. Tribal district council. So these states, AMTM, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram, AMTM states. So these are what states? 6 scheduled states. So with respect to 6 scheduled states, if the payments are made, he need not take the permission of State Council of Ministers. These are the discretionary powers. Okay. So and also he has certain situational discretion. So what I said earlier was constitutional discretion, discretion given in the constitution. However, there are also situational discretion based on the situation. In what situation? Appointment of a chief minister when there is no clear-cut majority. When there is a hung assembly, he can appoint a chief minister at his discretion. That is why in the Karnataka government, even though the coalition politics 2009 after 2018 election, even though the Congress and the JDS tried to form a coalition, since there was hung assembly, the governor Vajubai Rudabai Walaji appointed whom? Appointed Shri B.S. Yediyurappa in the first instance. However, unfortunately, Yediyurappa sir could not prove majority, so he resigned after 13 days. Okay. Okay, these are certain, and also dismissal of Council of Ministers when they lose the majority. There he has the situational discretion. Next is articles with respect to governor. What are the articles? So the important articles are Article 153, it speaks of governor of state. Article 163, 153, 163 and 164. These are the articles important with respect to office of governor. Also you can take down Article 200. Article 200, what does it speak? It speaks of assent to bills. Next, Article 2, more than Article 200, you can strike down Article 200. Article 201 is important. What does 201 speaks about? Article 201 speaks about reservation of bill by the governor for presidential assent. Okay. So this is with respect to the office of governor. Next we are going to move to the most important office at the state level, that is the office of chief minister. It is the de facto office at the state level. So what are the, okay, how does a chief minister appointed? So chief minister according to Article 163 is appointed by the governor. He is appointed by the governor and he holds an office at the pleasure of the governor. So this doctrine of pleasure is important. Pleasure doesn't mean own whims and fancies. Rather, it means what? Pleasure means, so as long as the chief minister holds majority, the governor cannot touch him. Only when he loses majority, the discretion of the governor comes into place. Okay. So, the governor can exercise his discretion in appointing the chief minister when the chief minister in office dies suddenly, there is no obvious successor. In that condition, and also in the condition of hung assembly, when there is no single party who has a clear majority and there is no coalition party also, then he can exercise his discretion, right? Okay, next comes the concept of oath and term. What is the oath? So, the oath of chief minister goes like this: to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India. Next oath is to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India. Sovereignty and integrity. Next is to faithfully discharge his office. And last is to do right without favor, without fear or favor. To do right in a manner without fear or favor or affection or ill will. Okay, this is the oath. So, the term of chief minister. So, in addition to this oath, there is a oath of secrecy. So, even the Central Council of Ministers, Prime Minister, the Chief Minister, and also the State Council of Ministers adhere to what? They adhere to oath of secrecy. What is the oath of secrecy? It is a colonial legacy. It speaks of, so the chief minister swears that he will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person any matter that is brought before him and becomes known to him in his capacity as a minister. So that is the oath of secrecy. He should keep the daily proceedings of the office which he is discharging a secret. So it should not be divulged. So that is the office of oath of secrecy. Okay. The term of chief minister is, however, not fixed. Like the office of governor, where the term is fixed as 5 years, there is no fixed term for the office of governor. Why? He holds the office during the pleasure of the governor. So the pleasure means having majority in the assembly. So what is the power and functions of the chief minister? What are the powers and functions of the chief minister? Okay. In relation to Council of Ministers, what is COM means Council of Ministers. In relation to Council of Ministers, what power does the governor holds? Sorry, what power does the chief minister holds? Okay, so the chief minister recommends to the governor who can be appointed as a Council of Minister. So only chief minister can recommend, sir, that this person can be made a home minister, this person can be made a finance minister, another person can be made a water minister, irrigation minister, and so on. So it is the prerogative of the chief minister. Next is, he allocates the portfolios. Portfolio means what? Departments. That is home department, finance department, agriculture department, fisheries department, technology department, so on. So he can ask a minister to resign. When the chief minister is dissatisfied with the performance of a minister, can ask him or her to resign. So he presides over the meeting of Council of Ministers. So, and also he brings about the collapse of Council of Ministers by resigning. That is what does that mean? So we have a Council of Ministers at state, right? So when the chief minister resigns, when the chief minister steps down, entire Council of Ministers steps down. They need not individually go and submit their resignation to the governor. Okay. Next is, what is the relationship of the chief minister with respect to the office of governor? So he is the principal channel of communication between whom? Between Council of Ministers and the governor. The bridge is formed by CM. Okay. So he furnishes all information with respect to the functioning of Council of Ministers. So the chief minister advises to the governor with respect to the appointment of important officers like chairman chairman and members of State Planning Commission and Election Commission. Okay. Next is the concept of relation of Chief Minister with State Legislature. So he is the head of the Legislative Assembly, right? So with respect to State Legislature, he is the leader of the House, not the head of the Assembly. The term is leader of the House. He is the leader of the House. Okay. So he advises the governor with respect to summoning and proroguing of the Legislative Assembly. State Legislature summoning, bringing, that is starting a session, ending a session. Who advises to the governor? It is the Chief Minister. Next is, he can recommend the dissolution of State Legislative Assembly. So Karnataka Legislative Assembly has 224 members. So if the entire assembly has to be dissolved, ended, the Chief Minister can go and ask the governor to dissolve. Okay, there are certain other functions also. The Chief Minister is the chairman of State Planning Commission, similar to Central Planning Commission, which is Niti Aayog now. He is the member of Interstate Council. He is the chief spokesperson of state government. So he is the chief spokesperson of the state. Okay, state government. So he is the political head of the services. All your IAS, IPS, everybody comes under the rule of Chief Minister. Okay. So next is, what is his relationship with the governor? Relationship of the Chief Minister with the governor. Which article speaks? There are 3 articles. You know, 163, that is aid and advice. 164, that is collective responsibility of the Council of Ministers. So you know what is collective responsibility. Collectively, all the Council of Ministers are collectively together. They are responsible. Responsible means what? They must be answerable. They must be answerable to the state legislature, that is Legislative Assembly. If they lose their majority, they have to resign. Okay. So 163, 164. 164 speaks of appointment of Chief Minister and other ministers, and also doctrine of pleasure, and also the concept of collective responsibility. So there is one more article, Article 167. What does 167 say? Similar to Article 78. So in 167, the Chief Minister communicates to the governor all the decisions of the Council of Ministers. All the decisions of the Councils of Ministers, who communicates? It is the Chief Minister. So what are the important articles when it comes to Chief Minister? So it is Article 163, 164 and 167. These 3 articles are important. Next is the topic of State Council of Ministers, similar to the Central Council of Ministers. So why State Council of Ministers? Because we have follow a parliamentary form of government even at the state level, similar to the central level. So which are the articles which deals with the State Council of Ministers? Majorly it is Article 163, similar to CM, and Article 164, which is also similar to the CM. Okay. So what are the constitutional provisions? Article 163. So the Council of Ministers aid and advise. So there shall be a Council of Ministers who aid and advise to the governor. That is the first provision of Article 163. Very, very important. So the governor has to follow the aid and advise except where he has to act out of discretion. I already discussed what is discretion. That is own will. He need not ask the permission, or he need not depend on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. He can take action on his own will. Okay. So when the governor can act in discretion at times, that is also given in Article 163. So the Article 163 also speaks about The advice. So I already said aid and advice is given by Council of Ministers to whom? Governor. That cannot be inquired by whom? The courts. Any court cannot inquire. Next, Article 164. So Chief Minister and other ministers are appointed by whom? Governor, and they hold office during the pleasure. So during the pleasure of the governor, right? Okay. So here one concept is important. In certain states, state of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha, in these four states, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. So these were one state at one point of time, Bihar and Jharkhand. In these states, there should be a tribal welfare minister. So that is also given in the Constitution by an amendment in 2006. Amendment number not important. So 164 also speaks about the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers does not exceed 15%. So similar to the central level, 15% of the state legislative assembly, right? So Karnataka has 224 ministers, 15% is 224 MLAs. So 15% is how much? 10% is 22, 22 plus 11, approximately 34. Okay. So not more than 34 ministers can be there in Karnataka Legislative Assembly, right? Okay. So also it speaks about, so 164 also speaks about defection. Defection you already know. It happens at state level. 164, the person is debarred from holding a post of minister. If a person is debarred on defection as an MLA, he is also debarred from holding the post of minister. Okay, next is the concept of the ministers hold during office during pleasure of governor. That is one thing. And the last concept is holding the office during the, the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to state legislature. Collective responsibility you already know. Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to state legislature. Next is Article 166. What does it speak? It speaks of conduct of business of government of state. So here conduct of business, how the state government is conducted, how the administrative machinery is run on a day-to-day basis. So the first provision is all the executive action of the government is taken in whose name? In the name of governor. Orders and instruments are signed by the whom? Governor, in the way he prescribes. That is the second provision. So while signing the orders and instruments, the governor makes specific rules as to how the order and instruments are signed. Okay, order and instruments, it is a order of the state government, or instrument means it might be a law. So the governor says in this particular way only I am going to sign. He makes the rules about how the orders and instruments are signed. Okay, next is Article 167. What does 167 speaks about? I already told, to communicate to the governor all the decisions of the Council of Ministers. Article 177, what does it speak? Not very important. So it says, it speaks about the rights of ministers as respects the houses. Sorry. So every minister has a right to speak. So right of minister with respect to the houses. Every minister has a right to speak in the house. That is the under Article 177. So nature of advice by minister. What is the nature of advice? So Article 163 speaks of what? Council of Ministers aid and advice, right? So in 1971, so this advice, so aid and advice, whatever the aid and advice given by the Council of Ministers, it cannot be questioned by any court. Court cannot go into what advice the Council of Ministers are giving to the governor. So that is very, very important. So nature of advice is courts are debarred. So next is concept of appointment of ministers. Appointment of ministers. So when it comes to nature of advice, there are two areas. One, so when the governor is bound by aid and advice. Governor is bound by aid and advice. In next is governor can act out of discretion. These are the two dimensions, right? Okay. So and the advice is not inquirable by court. Appointment of ministers. So chief, upon the advice of the chief minister, the governor appoints the ministers. In 4 states, there should be tribal affairs minister that I have already spoken about. So next is oath and responsibility. So what is the oath? It is similar to chief minister, to bear true faith and allegiance in the constitution, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, to faithfully execute the office, and to do right things without fear or favor, affection or ill will. You have to by heart these oaths, all the oaths. So what is the responsibility of Council of Ministers? Collective responsibility, individual responsibility, and no regal responsibility. Collectively responsibility means Article 164. Every one of them are collectively, togetherly, they are responsible to the state legislature. They are answerable to the state legislature for all the acts. If the state legislature passes no confidence motion, they have to collectively resign. Next is individual responsibility. Individual responsibility means what? Each minister holds office during the pleasure of governor. Article 163, individual responsibility. So when the governor is displeased, so when does the governor gets displeased? When the chief minister says remove that particular minister, then the governor gets displeased. So that speaks of the individual responsibility. Okay, next is no legal responsibility. This is similar to what? This is similar to your central Council of Ministers, no legal responsibility. That is, whatever the acts, whatever the orders that the ministers make, they are not legally responsible. It is the entire Council of Ministers it is the government, it is the state which is responsible. It is not the individual who is responsible. Suppose, let's say, there is a suppose let's say the agriculture minister forms the or signs a order on MSP. So if there is something wrong in that order, he is not legally responsible. It is the state or the government together which is responsible. He cannot be held individually responsible. Okay. Next is composition of Council of Ministers. Similar to the state level, we have what? Cabinet ministers. We have Council of Cabinet ministers, ministers of state who are attached to cabinet ministers, and also ministers of state with individual responsibility, and also we have deputy ministers, and the last category is parliamentary secretaries. So we don't have parliamentary secretaries at the state level. It ends at the level of deputy ministers. So now comes the concept of cabinet. You know what is cabinet? When we spoke about parliament, it is the highest decision making authority, chief for policy formulating body. These are the certain qualities or the features of the cabinet. Okay, so we'll speak about what? Cabinet committees also in brief. So similar to the state level, central level, we have state level cabinet committees, 2 types of committees: ad hoc committee, permanent standing committee. Ad hoc, temporary; standing, permanent. Okay, so they are set up by the whom? Chief minister sets it up on the basis of necessity. Okay. Okay, what are the articles? Articles is Article 163, 164 and 167. Next, we will move into the chapter, most important chapter at the state level, that is state legislature, right? State legislature. Okay. So now we spoke about parliament at the central level, right? Similarly, we have state legislature at the state level. State legislature, I already told, there are two varieties. One is exclusive legislative assemblies, and there are states where there are legislative assembly plus legislative council. This is limited in number, 6 or 5. So after Jammu Kashmir was, Jammu Kashmir also had legislative council, I think it was abolished, right? So now there are only 6 states which have the state legislative assembly. Yes, which are the states which are, sorry, legislative councils? Which are the 6 states? It is important from prelims perspective. It is Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra, Telangana, UP, Bihar. You can remember in this pattern. See, Karnataka and Maharashtra have border, Andhra and Tamil Nadu have border, UP and Bihar have border. You can remember in this fashion that these are the 6 states which have legislative councils, upper house. Okay. So this comes under Article 6. Article 6, Part 6, and articles. Which are the articles? Article 168 and up to 212. Article 168 up to 212 speaks about state legislature. Okay. Okay. So when it comes to state legislative council, how are they formed? This time means there was a question with respect to state legislative council. Is it really necessary? So that was the context, broad context of the question, right? So presently there are 22 states that have unicameral. Unicameral means what? Only legislative assembly. Bicameral means this. Unicameral legislature. Okay. The legislative councils are called as Vidhana Parishad. Legislative councils are Vidhana Parishad. Legislative assemblies are called Vidhan Sabha. Similar name nomenclature even in Karnataka. Vidhan Parishad and Vidhan Sabha. So which article speaks about the formation of legislative council? Article 169. So under Article 169, state government can pass a resolution saying that they want a legislative council. So then it goes to what? It goes to central parliament. The parliament can pass a bill. So there has to be a constitutional amendment bill. So the constitutional amendment bill passed by simple majority. Simple majority, if the constitutional amendment bill is passed, then that particular state gets a state legislative council. Okay. So composition of organization of state legislature. So I already spoke about organization of state legislature, that is legislative council and legislative assembly, that is with respect to organization. Next is composition of 2 houses, composition of Vidhan Sabha, composition of Vidhan Parishad. What is the composition? Okay. Composition of assembly, that is Vidhan Sabha. We are going to speak about Vidhan Sabha first. Strength. So the maximum strength is constitutionally fixed at 500. We cannot exceed the number of 500. So the highest number is having in which state? Which state has the highest number of legislative seats? It is Uttar Pradesh with 403 seats, 403 MLAs. Okay, Karnataka is as just less than, approximately half of UP. UP is a big state. Okay. So the minimum strength of legislative assembly is what? It is 60. So maximum is how much? 500. Minimum is 60. So there are certain special cases. In the case of Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim and Goa. Sikkim Sikkim, Goa, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh. In these three categories, the minimum strength can be 30 because there the population is less. So in case of Mizoram, it can be 40. Minimum strength is 40. And in case of Nagaland, it is 46. Nominated members. So nominated members, the Anglo-Indian community nomination can be done. However, this was removed by recent Amendment Act in the Constitution. No more representation for Anglo-Indians either in Parliament or in state legislature. Okay. Next is territorial constituencies. Territorial constituencies. So what is territorial constituency? Similar to the state government. Sorry, it is similar to the Parliament. Parliament is divided into MP constituencies. State Legislative Assembly is divided into what constituencies? Into MLA constituencies. Sorry for the map. I believe this is Karnataka map. So in Karnataka there are so many taluks. How many taluks? So we have 30 districts. So there are so many individual districts. So there are so many taluks, right? So each taluk is a MLA constituencies. So the taluk per se need not be a constituency, but major cases a particular taluk forms a MLA constituency. Who demarcates it? It is the Delimitation Commission. I have already spoken what is Delimitation Commission. Okay. Readjustment after each census. After each census, once in a decade, the readjustment of seats, that is demarcation of constituencies, take place, right? So, what is the readjustment? Total number of seats in the assembly of each state and also division of each state into territorial constituencies. That is, suppose Karnataka now has 224 seats. So, after each census, this number can be increased or decreased. And also, we have demarcation of constituencies. That also varies after each census based on population. Okay. So, right now until 2006, we have seized or we have locked that no changes in the constituencies. From 1976, there is no change in the constituencies. So, reservation of seats for SCs and STs. You know, we have reserved constituencies for the deprived sections. SCs and STs have their own constituencies which get rotated among the constituencies. So, in those constituencies, only the members from SC community or ST community can contest the election. No other member can contest. Why it is done? It is done to politically empower those communities. Right? This is with respect to composition of assembly. So next comes composition of council. Only 6 states have council. Right? So the membership strength of the council is fixed at 1/3 of the state legislative assembly strength. So Karnataka has how much? 224 members in the legislative assembly, right? So legislative council is 1/3 of this. That is 224 divided by 3. That is approximately 75 seats, okay, in the Karnataka legislative councils. So in the legislative council, the minimum strength is fixed at 40 in the constitution. Maximum strength is not fixed. It is 1/3 of state legislative assembly strength. So how the election takes place to legislative council? So it is given in the constitution. So 1/3 of the members of council comes from local bodies. Local bodies means what? Municipalities and panchayats. So from panchayats we get 1/3 of the members. Panchayats and municipalities, I am going to discuss it later on. Panchayats and district boards from there. So it is indirect election. These municipality members and also district board members elect the 1/3 members of the state legislative council. 1/12 are elected by graduates. Suppose you are a graduate, you can enroll as a voter for graduate constituency. You can become a MLC. Next is 1/12. 1/12 are elected by teachers. So teachers can also enroll as voters for voters for teachers constituency. Okay, next is 1/3 are elected by MLAs, that is members of Vidhan Sabha. They can elect 1/3 of members. So the remainder, so whatever the remaining is there, that is how much? Okay, that is nominated, that is 1/6. 1/6 is nominated by the governor. Okay, duration of the two houses. So this is 5 years. This is no duration. This is a permanent house. However, members has 6 years of tenure. Similar to Rajya Sabha, right? So the duration of legislative assembly is how much? 5 years, right? Okay. So it can be terminated before if the government falls, if the majority is not there. Okay. So if the government falls, if the assembly is dissolved, the re-election should be held within 6 months. Re-election should be held within how many days? Within 6 months. Next is duration of council. So it is similarly to Rajya Sabha. It is 6 years for the members, and it is a permanent house. So permanent house, it is not subject to dissolution. Membership of state legislature. What are the qualification, disqualification, oath, and other things? So qualification: he must be a citizen of India. He must subscribe to a oath. Oath, what is the oath? To uphold the integrity and unity, sovereignty and integrity of India, and to bear true faith and allegiance in the constitution. So with respect to council, if he has to become a legislative council member, he must be 30 years. If he has to become a legislative assembly member, he has to be 25 years. Next is he must possess other qualifications. Or where these other qualifications are given? It is given in Representation of People Act 1951. It has given the other qualifications. What are the other qualifications? So a person getting elected to legislative council must be the resident of the particular state. Suppose a person is getting elected to legislative council of the Karnataka legislature, then he must be a elector of Karnataka. Okay. Next is, okay, even if a person has to be elected as a legislative assembly member, he must be a member, he must be a voter in the particular state, similar to the council. So if SC/ST constituencies, only those communities can contest. Disqualification. What disqualification? So failing to submit the accounts, and also if he is of unsound mind, similar to parliament. So office of profit, disqualified. Unsound mind, disqualified. Undischarged, insolvent, means one has incurred debt and has failed to clear the debts. He is disqualified. So if one gives up the citizenship of India, then he is disqualified. So, and also if he is disqualified by any other law. What is the other law? RPA. So whatever the conditions I told till now, it is given in the constitution, in the constitution. So the rest of the disqualification conditions is given where? It is given in the Representation of People Act. Okay. So what are the other conditions? One is, if one is convicted of corruption, disqualified. So if he is imprisoned for 2 or more years, disqualified. You know the famous case of Jayalalitha ji. And also, if he has failed to submit the electoral expenses, if he has failed, then also disqualified. if he is interested in any government contacts, which most of them are interested, then also disqualified. Okay. Next is if he is dismissed from government service for corruption, then also disqualified. And if he promotes enmity between different communities, for example, if someone promotes enmity between Hindus and Muslims, and if he is convicted for that, he is disqualified. So apart from this, we have the condition for disqualification on the grounds of defection. So defection means what? Similar to the go and watch the video on Parliament. There I have described what is the condition for disqualification under defection. If a person, I am going to briefly tell, if a person voluntarily gives up the membership of the party on which he is elected, and also if a independent member joins a party after getting elected, or a nominated member gets elected, joins a party after 6 months, and also if a person doesn't follow party directions with respect to voting, then also it is disqualified under anti-defection law. 1985, Rajiv Gandhi ji brought this law. Okay, oath or affirmation. What is the oath? So the oath is different from Council of Ministers. First is to bear true faith and allegiance. This is allegiance to Constitution. This is similar to everyone. Next is to uphold sovereignty and integrity. This is also similar. So the third is to faithfully discharge the office. Whatever office you are entering, you have to be faithfully doing the duties. That is the third this thing. Oath or affirmation. Done. Okay. Next is vacation of seats. When does the seats get vacated? Double membership. So if a person is member of both council, parishad and sabha, so then his seats in one of the houses falls vacant. Next is disqualification. So if he is subject to any disqualification, the seats falls vacant. If he resigns, the seat falls vacant. If he is absent from the proceedings of the house for 60 days, disqualified, vacant. And there are other cases also. Presiding office of the, next is, okay, vacation is done. Next is the most important, presiding officers of the state legislature, Speaker of Assembly. Speaker of Assembly. Okay. The speaker is elected by whom? Elected by the members of the state legislature among themselves. Okay. So, suppose there are 224 members. There are 224 members in Karnataka Legislative Assembly. They elect a speaker from one member from among themselves as a speaker. Okay. Next is, so when he ceases to be a member, when does he cease to be a member of the, when does the speaker ceases to hold his office? When does the speaker ceases to hold his office? So if he is not a member of the state legislative assembly, if he is not a member of state legislative assembly, then he ceases to hold the office of speaker. If he is removed by the resolution, so if the resolution is passed to remove him, then also he ceases to hold office. Then also if he resigns, then also he ceases to be a speaker. So who is the present speaker of Karnataka Legislative Assembly? It is Sri Vishweshwara Hegde Kageri sir. Okay. So what are the speaker's powers? So he maintains the order and decorum. Order, that is, the house is conducted orderly. Do they conduct it orderly? They throw chairs, remove shirts, shout, throw slippers, everything they do. So to ensure that all those nonsensical things doesn't happen, whose function it is? It is the speaker. So he is the final interpreter of the constitution and rules of procedure. So constitution and rules of procedure, who interprets finally in the house? It is the speaker. Next is, he adjourns the house in the absence of quorum. So you know what is a quorum. When the quorum, that is less than 10% of the members are present, then the speaker adjourns the house. Okay. So similar to the Lok Sabha speaker, he does not vote in first instance. However, tying of votes, that is equal votes. So he does a casting vote. Exercises a casting vote. So he can hold a secret sitting. So secret sitting. So rest of the provisions are similar to the provisions of the central speaker. What is the role of deputy speaker? So whenever the speaker is not there, deputy speaker chairs the assembly meeting. So he is not a subordinate office, it is a separate office. So he is elected by among the members by themselves. Okay. So how is the speaker removed at the state legislative assembly? It is by effective majority. What is effective majority? So Karnataka has 224 members. You know this. Half of this is 112. So simple majority is different from effective majority. Simple majority is the number of persons present and voting. On that day, how many persons are present among the present members who are all voting? Only that is taken into account in simple majority. However, effective majority means it is half of the total number plus 1. That is, if 113 members vote, then the speaker stands. The speaker loses the seat. Okay. This is all regarding the deputy. So with respect to deputy speaker, he performs the duties of speaker's office when it is vacant. Okay. So similar to Lok Sabha's panel of chairpersons, that is panel of speakers. Here also there is a panel of chairmen who can chair the council when both of them are absent. Both speaker and deputy speaker are absent. Next is chairman of the council. So here we don't have the office of vice president. We don't have the office of vice governor who can chair the state legislative council. So what happens? Here similar to speaker, he or she is elected by the council members themselves. They themselves elect the chairman. So he has the power similar to speaker. He has the power similar to speaker. However, in certain cases, speaker has more power, similar like money bill. Who can decide? Only the speaker can decide. So similar to governor, there is a office of deputy. Similar to chairman, there is a office of deputy chairman of the council. Deputy chairman. So he chairs the council when the chairman is absent or vacant. The seat is vacant. Okay. Similar to panel of vice chairman, here also panel of chairman similar to central level, that is the vice president who is also a chairman of Rajya Sabha, and there is a deputy chairman. So similarly they appoint a panel of vice chairman. Similarly here also vice chairman is appointed. They chair when both of them, that is chairman and vice chairman, are absent. Okay. So sessions of state legislature, how the sessions of state legislature is carried out. It is similar to parliament, right? So summoning, who summons it? The governor summons the session. Upon whose advice? It is upon the chief minister's advice. Adjournment, who does the adjournment? You know what is adjournment? That is temporary ending of that day's session, that day's meeting. So suppose this class I am going to end after, say, let's say half an hour or 45 minutes. So that is the end of this particular meeting. However, when I end the entire course, that is prorogation. That is the ending of the entire this session. That is the ending of this entire course. That is called prorogation. However, I end this class after 45 minutes. That is adjournment. Hope you understand. Next is the concept of prorogation. I already explained. That is, who prorogues? It is the governor who prorogues. However, who does the adjournment? Adjournment is done by the speaker or chairman in the case of state legislative assembly and council respectively. dissolution. So this Vidhan Parishad, that is upper house, is not subject to dissolution because it's a permanent house. However, lower house, Vidhan Sabha, is subject to dissolution. How dissolution is carried out? So the chief minister can ask the governor to dissolve the house. Also, it is dissolved when upon the completion of how many years? 5 years. Okay. So when dissolution happens, what about the bills that are pending? We discussed this concept even in the Parliament chapter. So a bill pending in the Assembly, a bill pending in the Vidhan Sabha lapses once the dissolution takes place. So a bill passed by the Assembly, a bill is passed by the Vidhan Sabha, but is pending in the Vidhan Parishad, that is also lapses. But there are three bills where the lapse doesn't happen. So a bill pending in the council itself, Parishad itself, a bill is pending, it does not lapse. A bill passed by the Assembly or passed by the houses, but pending the assent of the governor. So it has been passed by both the houses or a single house in case of unicameral legislature. So it is the governor's assent is pending, then the bill doesn't lapse. Then also a bill passed by the Assembly or passed by both the states but is returned by the President for reconsideration, returned by President or the Governor for reconsideration, that bill also doesn't lapse. So however, what is the difference between the bills, lapsing of bills between the State Legislative Assembly and Parliament? There the same provisions whatever I told is applicable there, plus one there. What is that plus one? There, if the President has allowed for joint sitting, then the bill doesn't lapse. However, State Legislative Assembly, there is no provision of joint sitting. Very, very important. State Legislative Assembly, there is no provision of holding joint sitting. Okay. Next is quorum. Quorum, you already know, it is 1/10. So 224 members. If the assembly present number of members present is 22 or less, then quorum is not there. So the session is not held. Next is voting in the house. How voting happens in the house? You know the ayes and noes in the Parliament. Similarly, it happens in the State Legislative Assembly also. Okay, next is language. What is the language used in the State Legislature with respect to Parliament? It is Hindi and English. In the State Legislature, it is the official language of the state. For example, Karnataka has which language as the official language? Kannada. And it might be the official language of the state or Hindi or English. So Hindi, English or the official language of the state stands as the language of the State Legislative Assembly or Council. Okay. Rights of ministers and advocate general. So you know, if a minister is from Legislative Council, he can sit in the assembly debates but not vote. Even the advocate general, similar to attorney general at the central level, can sit in the assembly or council, however without voting. Okay. So next we are going to move towards legislative procedure in the state assembly. So similar to the Parliament. So ordinary bills. Ordinary bills means which is not money bill or a constitutional amendment bill. Okay. So here in the state legislature, there is no provision of introducing the constitutional amendment bill. Okay. Bill in the ordinary bills. So when a bill is taken up by either the assembly, either the parishad or the sabha. So Vidhan Parishad or Vidhan Sabha, either the assembly or the council. So what happens? It goes through 3 reading. So such a bill can be introduced either by a minister or a private member. It goes through 3 readings, right? So similar to the central level. So first reading, general discussion. First reading, the bill is just tabled. Second reading, detailed discussion. Thereafter, it goes to the first reading, presenting. Second reading. After that, it goes to the committee. Then comes back from committee. Second reading happens. Then after the second reading, third reading, either the bill is accepted or rejected. Ayes or noes. Okay, so after this, once the bill is passed by the first, either the assembly or the council, it is sent to the second house. Second house means either the upper house or the second house with respect to the originating house. So there also it goes through 3 readings. Why so many readings? 3 plus 3, 6 readings. Because of detailed deliberation. Detailed deliberation means detailed discussion has to take place before a bill has to be passed, so that there is no wrong. There is no wrong in the bill. So bill in the second house. So after the bill is second house, it is presented to the governor. Governor, what can he do? He can assent, he can withhold, he can return, or he can reserve it for the president's assent. Okay. So with respect to the council, there is there is a difference. So there are only 6 states which have council. So there are certain special provisions when it comes to the council. What is the special provision? So once the assembly passes the bill and sends to the council, if the council passes the bill without any amendment or the assembly accepts the amendment, then the bill is deemed to be passed. However, if the assembly rejects the amendment, so council, suppose let's say, has made an amendment, or the council rejects the bill altogether, then there is a deadlock. How the deadlock is resolved at the state level? How the deadlock is resolved? So here, if the council rejects the bill or passes the bill with amendments not accept to the assembly, so okay, here one provision is there. If the assembly rejects the amendments suggested by the council, so bill is passed by the assembly first. It goes to the council. Council adds certain amendments and sends it back to assembly, or it rejects the bill altogether. Two options. If it rejects the bill or sends it back to assembly with some amendments. So if it rejects the bill, or if the assembly rejects the amendment, so the council might reject the bill altogether or send to the assembly with some amendments. If the assembly also rejects those amendments, so then deadlock happens. So then there is a waiting period of 3 months. So assembly gives 3 months to the council. Within 3 months you have to pass the bill. So if after the 3 months lapse, if the council rejects the bill again, or passes the bill with amendment, so if again they reject the bill or again they add the amendment which is not acceptable to the assembly, then within 1 month, if they do not pass the bill, then the state assembly can repass the bill again. Then state assembly can override the council. This is the very important word, override the council. That is, first instance, 3 months waiting period is given for the council to pass the bill. So if they don't pass it within 3 months, then 1 more month is given. Even in that 1 month also they don't pass, then assembly overrides the council. So assembly's will is made to be overpowering over the council. This is not similar with respect to the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha cannot override the Rajya Sabha, right? So therefore the ultimate power of passing an ordinary bill lies with whom? It lies with the State Legislative Assembly. Okay. So next comes the stage of assent of governor. So later on, governor may assent, he may reserve it to the presidential assent. So what the president do? He may assent the bill, he may reject, he may withhold the bill, he may return the bill. So similar, assent of the president. If he assents, it becomes an act. So then money bills also there. So money bill, Lok Sabha has overpowering criteria. There, if the Rajya Sabha doesn't pass the money bill within 14 days, what happens? The Lok Sabha will pass it again and give it to President for assent. Similarly, so in the only money bill, they have overpowering. Here, Legislative Assembly, even ordinary bill, 4 months, they can overpower. Money bill, 14 days, they can overpower. Similar to Parliament. Okay. Money bill is introduced. Money bill cannot be introduced in Legislative Council, similar to central level. So money bill is passed by Legislative Assembly. It is given to the Council for assent. If the Council doesn't do anything or rejects or amends, then they cannot amend. If they reject or doesn't do anything after 14 days, what they do? So after 14 days, the bill is deemed to be passed by both the Assembly and Council. 14 days happens, Council doesn't do anything, then the money bill is deemed to be passed by both of them. So at the max, they can hold it for 14 days. That's all. Okay. So it is present to the governor. Governor can give his assent or withhold. He cannot return, or he may save it to presidential assent. Okay. Next is comparison with Parliament. Parliament comparison. Ordinary bill, money bill. What are the comparison? So ordinary bill can be in the Parliament, can be introduced, both the houses. Legislature, both the houses, it can be introduced. So ordinary bill, Parliament, it can be introduced by a minister or private member. Similar in the state. So in the ordinary bill, it passes through 3 readings. Here also 3 readings. So it is deemed to be passed when both the houses pass it. Where here it is deemed to be passed when state legislature passes it. When the state legislature, when both the houses have agreed to the bill. Okay. So it is deemed to be passed when both the houses have passed it in the Parliament. Here also, if both the houses are passing the bill, then it is deemed to be passed. However, in the case of deadlock, Parliament, there is a provision of deadlock, provision of joint sitting. Here there is no provision of joint sitting. Why? Because they can override after 4 months. There is a provision of 4 months, 3 plus 1. Okay. So this is with respect to ordinary bill. Money bill, what is the difference? Cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha with respect to Parliament. Here also cannot be introduced in Council. So here it is introduced, Parliament introduced by presidential recommendation. Here governor's recommendation. So only the minister can introduce. Here also minister can be, only the minister can introduce. So here only the Rajya Sabha can hold it for 14 days. Here also 14 days. Similarly, there are many differences given in your book. Lakshmikant, you can go through. Next is position of Legislative Council. What is the position of Legislative? Equal and unequal. However, Rajya Sabha has equal, unequal and more equal. That is, has more power than Lok Sabha. Where all more power? When all India services have to be formed, and when the constitution has to form a bill with respect to a state list. With respect to state list, there they have overpower. So equal with assembly. Where does the Legislative Council has equal powers with assembly? First is with respect to ordinary bills. Ordinary bills, council has equal power. Approval of ordinances, it has equal power. Both of them have to approve. Next is selection of ministers, can be done in from both the houses. And also, so these are the areas where they have equal powers. Next is unequal with assembly. Where does the council has unequal powers with the assembly? Okay. Money bill, only assembly can take a call. Council cannot do anything. So council, what they can do, at the max they can hold it for 14 days. So next is money bill or not can be decided only by the speaker. Chairman of council doesn't have any power. So ordinary bill, final power lies with whom? With the assembly only. They can hold it only for 4 plus 1 month. So council cannot vote for demand for grants. Assembly can vote for demand for grants. So council cannot remove the council of ministers. Legislative council cannot remove the council of ministers. They cannot pass the no confidence motion. Legislative assembly can pass the no confidence motion. Similarly, there are many other unequal provisions with the assembly you can look into. Okay. So what is the difference between Rajya Sabha and Legislative Council? So Rajya Sabha is a representation of states. However, it is a dilatory body. So here there is no concept of representation of states when it comes to council. So council represents heterogeneous interest. It has teachers, it has graduates, it has district members, it has legislative elected members and also nominated members. So why council is needed? It permeates democracy. It increases the democratical principles. So more representation. It checks the hasty and defective laws. Suppose legislative assembly out of their majority they pass certain bills. So if it is hasty or it is defective, then the council can tame it. Also, council provides an option for choosing of ministers. We can choose the ministers from legislative council. It provides scope for representation of eminent people. Okay, privileges. Just like parliamentary privileges, we have state legislative privileges. What are the privileges? State legislature. So here parliamentary privileges, Article 105 is important. State legislative privileges, Article 194 is important. So privileges of state legislature are a sum of special rights, immunities and exceptions enjoyed by the House. Sum of special rights, immunities and exceptions enjoyed by the House as a total and also individual members. Okay, what are the collective privileges? Collective privileges, similar to Parliament, they can publish the reports, they can exclude strangers from its proceedings, it can make rules for its regulating its own procedure, that is how the House is run on a day-to-day basis, regulating the procedure, all those things. And it can also punish the members for breach of privilege and contempt of the House. These are collective privileges. Individual privileges, similar to Parliament, cannot be arrested 40 days before and 40 days after the session, only with respect to civil cases. They have freedom of speech, they can speak whatever they want. That is why they do all this shouting and all. No court can do anything. So they are exempted from jury service. The court cannot call them to give evidence in any case during the session is being held. Okay. So strength of these are collective privileges and individual privileges. Strength of assembly and council. What are the strength of assembly and council? So we have different strengths. So highest strength is what? Uttar Pradesh, I already told you, 403 seats. Lowest strength is which state? We have two states. Tripura has 60 MLAs. Arunachal Pradesh has 60 MLAs. Mizoram has 40 MLAs. Even Goa has 40 MLAs. So 40 MLAs is the minimum number. With respect to union territories, it is the Puducherry. Puducherry Union Territory has 30 MLAs, the least. Okay, what are the articles? Articles. So the articles start from, with respect to State Legislative Assembly, the articles start from 168 and goes up to 213. So it is divided into so the officers of state legislature. Speaker, article 178 speaks about the office of speaker and deputy speaker, chairman and deputy chairman, article 182. Okay, next is, so privileges, I already told you, 194, article 194, and article 200 speaks about assent of bills. Article 199 speaks about money bill. So money bill central level is spoken about by article 110, state level 199. Okay. Next is article 202 speaks about annual financial statement, that is state budget 202, central budget 112, 202, state budget, central budget and state budget. Okay. So with respect to state legislature, this is what it is all about. Next, we will speak about the High Court. So every state has a High Court. Does every state has a High Court? No. So we have 25 High Courts today. Only we have 28 states, but 25 High Courts. So even that excludes the Delhi High Court. Delhi is the only union territory which has a High Court for itself, own High Court. So there are 24 states which have their own High Court. So Chandigarh High Court is common between the state of Haryana and Punjab. Okay, High Court. Indian Constitution envisaged what? It envisaged a single integrated judiciary. Indian Constitution envisaged a single integrated judiciary. So when did this concept of High Court originate in India? It originated in 1862. 1862, 3 High Courts were formed. 3 High Courts. The date is important. 1862. What are the 3 High Courts? Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. These 3 High Courts were formed. These were the first instance of High Court. So the Constitution of India, that is States Reorganization Act, after the States Reorganization Act was made, and 7th schedule, 7th Amendment Act. So with respect to organizing the states, reorganizing the states, which is the Amendment Act? It is the 7th Amendment Act. That act speaks about every state as a High Court. It also gives provision for common High Court for 2 or more states, or 2 or more states and a union territory. At present, there are 25 High Courts. Okay, what is the composition and appointment? Composition and appointment. Every High Court consists of a Chief Justice and other judges. Okay, appointment of the judges. How? So the judges of High Court are appointed. Is it appointed by the governor? Please be careful. Judges of High Court, whether it is a normal judge or a CJI, is appointed by the president, not by the governor. Please be careful. You get confused in the preliminary examinations. Okay. So the judges of a High Court are appointed by the president, and the Chief Justice of the High Court is appointed by the president in consultation with the governor. So normal judges, no need of consultation of governor. CJI, CJS, Chief Justice of the state, can be appointed only with the consultation of the governor. Okay. So the president consults the governor. So second judge's states. So second judge's case, I spoke about second judge's case. When is it? 1993. Third judge's case, 1997. Fourth judge's case, 2015. So the second judge's case says that no appointment Supreme Court ruled that no appointment of a judge of High Court can be made unless it is in conformity with the opinion of Chief Justice of India. That is, the judges, High Court judges can be appointed only when the opinion of CJI is taken. In the third judge's case, it said that not only third judge's case, it expanded the provision saying that not only the consent of the CJI but two more senior most judges. So with respect to SC Collegium we have CJI plus 4. With respect to High Court judges, it is CJI plus 2 senior most judges. Please note the difference. You will be confused. Okay. So 99th Amendment Act, you know what it is, NJAC, it had the provision for appointment of judges even by the executive had its say. However, it was held invalid. So what are the qualifications and oath? So he should be a citizen of India. That is the first qualification. Next is he should have held a judicial office. He should have held a judicial office for 10 years in the territory of India. Within the boundary of India, he should have held a judicial office for 10 years. Next is, or he has to be an advocate of High Court for 10 years. He should have been an advocate for High Court for 10 years. So here, with respect to High Court judges, there is no provision for appointing a distinguished jurist. So with respect to Supreme Court has High Court judge, High Court lawyer, or distinguished jurist can be appointed as a judge. Whereas in the case of High Court judges, there is no provision of distinguished jurist. So this difference you have to note. Oath and affirmation. What is the oath? Constitution, to bear true faith and allegiance, uphold the sovereignty and integrity. Third is to do all the duty without favor or affection or ill will, without fear or favor. Next is last provision, to uphold the Constitution. Whenever the oath of judges come, to uphold the Constitution comes up, because only the judges can uphold the Constitution, right? So that gets added. Okay, tenure, removal and transfer. So tenure of judges. So they hold office for 62 years. So the judges, High Court judges, hold office for 62 years. Before that, they can resign, they can be removed. Removal procedure is similar to Supreme Court judges. So that is, the state legislature has no say. It is only the parliament which can remove the High Court judges. So, or he can be, and he resigns, that is one case, and also he vacates his office when he is appointed as a Supreme Court judge. The seat falls vacant when he gets appointed as a Supreme Court judge. These are the 4 conditions. Okay, removal of judges. So the president who removes, president removes. So when does he remove? Not at his whims and fancies. An address has to be presented by the parliament to remove the judges. So here you know that removal. So there is a Judges Enquiry Act. So what this act was formulated in 1968. What does this act say? So 100 members in the case of Lok Sabha or 50 members in the Rajya Sabha has to sign a motion to start the removal of judges process. Then they may admit, the speaker may admit or reject. Then they constitute a 3-member. So 3-member committee similar to SC judge removal. So then that committee should consist of a CJI, Chief Justice of High Court, distinguished jurist. Then, so if they found the guilty of misbehavior or incapacity, then they advise the House to take up the issue. If they pass it by special majority, you know what is special majority? then the president can sign the order. So transfer of judges. So when it comes to Supreme Court judges, there is no question of transfer because there is one Supreme Court. However, there are 25 Supreme Courts. There is a possibility of transfer of judges. So there were issues in the recent past. What are the issues? One was the issue of transfer of Justice Muralidhar of Delhi High Court. One was Justice Muralidhar. One more was the issue of transfer of Judge the Madras High Court Chief Justice, who Justice Tamil Ramani or something. I don't remember the name. That was also ran into issue. So the president can transfer a judge from one high court to another high court after consulting the CJI, and also CJI president consults the CJI in order to transfer the judge. So in 1977, Supreme Court said that the transfer of judges has to be carried out only as an exceptional measure, not as a punishment. However, today the transfer of judges is mostly done as a punishment. So in the third judges cases, when does the third judges cases take place? 1998, not 1998. The third judges cases, the Supreme Court said the transfer of judges, the Supreme Court opined that in the case of transfer of High Court judges, the Chief Justice of India, so the President transfers with respect with the opinion of CJI. So what does the CJI do? Should he give his opinion on his own? No. He has to consult a collegium of 4 senior most judges of Supreme Court plus the Chief Justice of the 2 High Courts. So with respect to transfer, President does the transfer. President consults whom? CJI. CJI has to consult 4 Supreme Court judges plus 2 High Court CJI. Who are the 2 High Court CJI? One is the transferring court, another is the receiving court. Suppose Madras High Court is transferring, the CJI should consult Madras High Court CJI, CJS, and you should also consult, suppose transfer is being turned to Meghalaya, he should consult the Chief Justice of the state of Meghalaya. So after consulting these 2 Chief Justices, the CJI can recommend to the President, after which he transfers. So similar to central level, we have acting, additional and retired judges. What is acting judges? Acting Chief Justice. So when the office of Chief Justice is vacant or is temporarily absent, then acting Chief Justice is nominated by the governor. Is it a governor? No, it is the President. Next is additional and acting judges. So it is a temporary judges. Temporary judges for how many tenure? 2 years. 2 years is the tenure. So when does the acting and additional judges can be done? It can be done when there is a temporary increase in the business of the house. So when there is a temporary increase, then the transfer can be done. The additional judges can be taken, and also there is high pendency of work. Okay, next is retired judges. So whenever there is a high workload, the CJI, Chief Justice of a High Court, not CJI, Chief Justice of High Court can request a retired judge of a High Court to come and do the work. However, the Chief Justice of High Court must take the opinion of President before doing so. Okay, this is with respect to this section. Next is independence of High Court. How the independence of High Court is ensured. So first is mode of appointment. The executive and the legislature doesn't have any say. It is only the judges who appoint themselves. So we don't have any say. Right? Okay. Appointment, they ensure independence, then security of tenure, they cannot be removed before 62 years. Fixed service condition, their salary cannot be diminished except during financial emergency. And their expenses are charged on Consolidated Fund of India. Charged expenditure. What is charged expenditure? Not subject to vote of Parliament. So, and also conduct of judges cannot be discussed in the State legislature, whatever the judges do, that should not be discussed in the state legislature. Whatever the legislatures, that is MLA speak, that cannot be discussed by the court. So there is mutual exclusion, win-win situation. Okay. So also after retirement, the judges are banned from practice. They cannot practice. So okay. So in the case of High Court, suppose a person is a judge of Karnataka High Court. He is banned from practice within the state of Karnataka, but not outside. He can practice in front of Supreme Court. He can practice in any other High Court. However, in the case of Supreme Court judge, whole India, they cannot practice. So the court has independence is ensured through power to punish for its contempt, contempt for court, power for punishment. So they can appoint their own staff. The High Court jurisdiction cannot be curtailed. However, it can be increased, and also the separation from executive is ensured. There is clear separation of powers. So jurisdiction and powers of the High Court. Jurisdiction and powers of the High Court. What are the jurisdictions? Okay. So what are the jurisdictions? So similar jurisdiction to the Supreme Court jurisdiction. I mean, the provisions are same, however the territory is different. Okay. So the Constitution does not give the jurisdiction. The Constitution just says, what does it say? The jurisdiction is similar to what it was before the commencement of Constitution. That is, Constitution commenced on 26th January. On 25th January, what was the provisions? It shall continue. That is what the Constitution has said. Okay, there are 7 jurisdictions. First is original jurisdiction. What is the original? You know the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court. What it is? It is with respect to center state or state quarrel. 131. With respect to original jurisdiction of High Court, what are the matters? So matters of admiralty and contempt of court. Contempt of court, admiralty, directly you can go to High Court. Dispute related to MP or MLA election, directly go to High Court. So any revenue matter, original jurisdiction. Enforcement of fundamental rights, directly you can go to High Court. So, and also, so constitutional matters, you can directly go to High Court from the subordinate court. Writ jurisdiction is spoken about by Article 226. What does, so you know the writs, certiorari, mandamus, habeas corpus, quo warranto, and so forth, prohibition. So Supreme Court writ jurisdiction is lesser than High Court writ jurisdiction. The Supreme Court can issue writs only for the enforcement of fundamental rights. However, the High Court can issue the writs for any other purpose, not only for the fundamental rights. That is why the writ jurisdiction is higher. Okay, appellate jurisdiction. Appellate means going for appeal from subordinate courts to High Court. Okay, what is the appellate jurisdiction? With respect to civil matters. That is money, one which it is civil disputes among the people. Which does not involve crime. So civil matters. Where does in what cases the appeal lies? First, appeals from the order and judgments of district courts. District courts, directly you can go to High Court, appellate jurisdiction. Second, appeals from the orders of the even first appeals and also second appeals. So first appeal, second appeal, you can go. So first appeal means direct, if the case is filed in the district court, first appeal lies to where? High Court. Second appeal means it is filed in some taluk court to district court, first appeal, district court to High Court, second appeal. So Here one provision is there. Calcutta, Bombay and Madras High Court has inter-court appeal. Inter-court appeal means what? So if a single judge bench has given a judgment only in these three high courts, you can appeal in the same high court. In the same high court you can appeal before a larger bench. Okay. So administrative and other tribunals, you have Karnataka Administrative Tribunal and various other water tribunal and any other tribunal. From the tribunals, direct appeal to High Court. Criminal matters, in the criminal matters, where does the appeal lie? So appeal from the, at the district level, you know, there is district court, so which deals with civil disputes. If it deals with criminal disputes, it is called as sessions court. Criminal dispute, session court. Criminal dispute, session court. Remember this. Okay. So appeals from the judgment of session court and additional session court lie to High Court if the sentence is one of imprisonment of more than 7 years. That is, if the if the person is sentenced for more than 7 years, appeal lies to where? Appeal lies to High Court. Okay. So also some provisions of Criminal Procedure Code. When was the Criminal Procedure Code formed? 1973. It separated the executive from where? Judiciary. Earlier, executive and judiciary were combined. You had the office of district collector. He also used to exercise judicial power. So Criminal Procedure Code separated. So it is also given in Article 50 of Constitution, separation of judiciary and executive. Okay. So in some cases, Criminal Procedure Code appeals from in certain specific cases, appeals from Metropolitan Magistrate can also go to High Court. Metropolitan Magistrate, metropolitan areas, wherever metropolitan areas are there, from courts in that area, appeal can go to High Court only in certain specific cases. So next is supervisory jurisdiction. So what is supervisory jurisdiction? So these High Court supervises over the subordinate courts. We have district courts, we have session courts, we have subordinate courts, taluk courts, municip courts, JMFC courts, so many courts. Everything is supervised. Is supervised by whom? It is supervised by the High Court. So how does the supervision is done? So it calls for returns from them. Returns means how much money is spent, what is the account that is called by the High Court. So it makes the general rules and procedures for the lower courts. So it also prescribes the form in which accounts has to be maintained, books has to be maintained. Okay. So the power of superintendent of High Court is very broad because it extends to all courts in its jurisdiction, within the territory, under its control. Everywhere it extends. Okay. Next is control over subordinate courts. Supervisory jurisdiction is done, control over subordinate courts. How the control is done? So High Court is consulted by the governor. When does the governor consult High Court? They consult it during the appointment, promotion and transfer of district judges. Every district has a district court, district judges, appointment and transfer. Governor consults whom? Governor consults High Court. So apart from district judge, there are various judicial officers. What are the judicial officers? Subordinate judges, JMFC court judges, municip court judges. So those judges appointment is done by the government upon consultation with High Court and also State Public Service Commission. So also if a case is pending in the subordinate court and it involves a constitutional provision, decoding of a constitutional provision, that case can be taken up by the High Court and placed among itself. It can dispose it by itself. Okay, this is with respect to control over subordinate courts. Next is a court of record. What is a court of record? So the judgments and proceedings of the High Court are recorded for future reference. So we have, just like we refer the Keshwananda Parthi case, likewise we might refer Mysore High Court, Karnataka High Court, earlier called Mysore High Court. Mysore High Court has given definition with respect to secularism that we refer even today. Likewise, that acts as a court of record. So court of record also means the court has a power to punish for contempt of court. Contempt of court is carried out, the court has power to punish. Okay. So contempt of court, we have Contempt of Court Act and also Article 129. 129 speaks about contempt of court. What is a contempt? It scandalizes or lowers the authority of court. It prejudices or disrupts the judicial proceedings. It interferes with the administration of justice. There, contempt of court happens. However, innocent publication of the day-to-day proceedings or fair and accurate reporting of judicial proceedings does not account for contempt of court. You know, journalist Ravi Belgere was jailed for contempt of what? Not contempt of court, contempt of house. So under which article? Article 194. Next is the power of judicial review. Just like Article 32 has power of judicial review, we have Article 226 gives power of judicial review to whom? It gives the power of judicial review to High Court. So judicial review means any judgment which has been given earlier, the court can review its own judgment later on. Also, not only its own judgment, even executive orders and also legislative acts can be reviewed. Legislative acts and executive orders can be reviewed by the court later on. Okay. So when can the executive order, legislative acts and its own judgments can be reviewed? It can be reviewed in the case of infringement of fundamental rights and also when the action is outside the authority of, so suppose outside the authority which has framed it. Suppose BBMP carries out a action, Bangalore Brought Bangalore Mahanagra Palike, which is a local body in the city of Bangalore. It carries out a action. If that action is outside its jurisdiction, then we can file a judicial review. Okay, and also if the action is against constitution, then also we can approach the court for judicial review. Okay. Next comes what are the names and jurisdiction of High Court? We have so many courts: Allahabad High Court, Calcutta High Court, Bombay High Court. So many High Courts. You just go through it. What are the articles when it comes to High Court? So starting from Article 214, and it goes up to Article 232. Article 232. We speak about Article 214 to Article 232. We speak about High Court. Okay, 214 speaks about High Courts per se. Okay, so 215 speaks about High Court to be High Court of Record. Article 222 is important because it speaks about transfer of judge. Article 222 speaks about transfer of judge. So this is all with respect to High Courts. Tomorrow I am going to start with the concept of tribunals. So thank you for bearing with me. Hope you found the class very useful because these are very, very important concepts when it comes to Indian polity. Direct questions can be expected. So Lakshmikant is your sole and holy source. So you just stick to Lakshmikant for polity. You are going to ace the exams. So all the best for all of you. Take care of your health. Good night and Jai Hind. Thank you.